Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Inglorious Pastords, starring Bruce Martin and my inglorious co-host, the Raj. How's it going, the Raj?
Well, I've yes, I'm so happy to be here supporting your celebritydom.
Yeah, it's Johnny Carson and I almost said Ed Asner.
Ed,
Who was the other guy?
Eddie,
Ed
Ed McMahon.
Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon. Roger's the chuckle track. I'm the straight guy,
With
apparently.
these, yes, you have to have the chuckle track. That's right.
It's just good. So I had to bring this in. So I got something in the mailbox yesterday. Oh, I can't see it. What? It has to be people. It has to be attached to me. Okay, you can't see it
It's
because I got it
pretty.
on blur. It's the Blount County phone book.
Okay.
Roger, it's got yellow pages and white pages, but I realized this many people in Blount County have a landline. Like I looked in it to see, am I in there? Is Bruce Martin? No, I'm not, because I don't have a
Oh, okay.
landline. You got to have a landline to make the book. But it had all the ads on it and the yellow pages, which will actually be helpful because I'm trying to find someone in Blount
No, but,
County
but
that can look at my mini split.
no, but it's comical that that feels so ancient now.
Oh yeah,
A
the phone
phone
book
book.
with people's names and addresses in
No,
it
the phone, but Bruce, remember, these were dog-eared. The phone book, you were looking up things all the
all the
time.
time. If you wanted to find out, you didn't go to Google. You went to
Right.
the phone
And
book.
the yellow pages, like you had to be in the yellow page. No,
If you're yeah, you're
I
gonna
haven't
have a
even thought the
business.
term yellow pages.
Well, it's fascinating because they have a website which I've used for years called White Pages.
Right.
If you're looking up someone nationwide,
Right.
this has some way to, and if you want to pay money, you can find out everything about
Right. Yes, you
criminal
did.
history, everything.
Right.
I paid the money to look up myself just to see if I had any outstanding warrants or something I was unaware of.
I was,
I did
I'm
not.
haunted in three states.
I did not, thankfully. So I felt like that was a win all the way
I did
around.
discover I've had 18 moving violations in 18 states.
Roger, we have a state farm agent named Jesus. I have
There you
never,
go.
that is so awesome. I just love it. I suppose that's
You
Jesus.
can't lose with that.
And well, you can. Jesus actually spoke a lot about losing. Losing was a good thing. So,
Right. Trying to imagine Jesus selling insurance.
okay, I'll say
It,
he'll be the worst ever. Because he'd be like, I wouldn't worry about it.
you
You
don't,
know,
you don't need
you don't
this.
need it.
Just trust the Father.
Trust the Father. He knows what you need, and
What?
you
I
want to buy the insurance anyway. So you're telling me, God, that you don't think I can manage this. Okay, all right. I'm not going to sell it to you.
yeah, I think Jesus will be unemployed pretty soon.
Well, if it was commission based, yeah, that's pretty much a given. That's not going to happen. I
Jobs Jesus wouldn't do.
Carpentry is good. I think he would do the carpentry thing. I think he did some of that stuff. But no, there's a lot of jobs that he wouldn't do. I mean, that might be a whole nother podcast just talk about like insurance sales for sure. Um, car salesman, I think he'd just be terrible at. Unless it was a really used car,
He
it
was
was
just,
like real
he'd just be too
inexpensive.
honest.
So to be clear, you're wanting to spend $50,000 on a car, which I think is a terrible idea. And there's another one over there for 12 that'll win just as long. How do you know I'm just as long? Well, because I'm God. I know exactly how long that car is going to last. It's going to be fine. Spend the 12,000. It's just fired. All the jobs Jesus would get fired at.
Yeah, right. I'm
I
sorry.
mean,
We can't use you
could he be a
anymore.
Walmart greeter? I'm just kidding. Just, what things could he actually do?
Well, what he could do that because,
He's going to welcome people.
well, what I'm saying is he wouldn't have any problem taking janitorial jobs.
Mhm.
Shepherd was not like a highly sought after. That was like
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about that, but think about even the analogies. So if we're using analogies about leadership, we might tell a story about a president, but Jesus likens himself as a president or a king.
no,
He says, "This is the way that I lead the kingdom of heaven."
right.
like a shepherd.
Right.
That's wild when you think about it.
And you talk about a job like,
It's antithetical to power.
right.
Shepherd has no power.
It's a dangerous job. It's
Yeah.
it's an inglorious job, dare I say. I mean, this was not.
And what do people say, dare I say, after they just said it? Because they did. Are you asking, should I dare? It's too late. You
Dare,
just said it.
dare me to say it
I
again.
dare say. That's I understand that when someone says I dare say. But should I dare say? I don't but you did. So I don't know what we're gonna do with
I
that.
think you just.
Anyway, that was what I was bringing to the table today, the Blount County phone book, which I was just fascinated by. You know, when I saw it, at first it took me a minute to process what I was looking at.
No.
I was like, oh, now because it wasn't that thick, you know, and like in the Chattanooga phone book, it was
Right.
a big old boy. This is very small, but still, thousands of people have landlines.
No, so it's a right. I would have thought like that's a collectible now. That's and some phone books I'm quite sure
Are collectible.
are collectible. It's a it's a relic. It's a but it's present tense. That's
It's an interesting thing.
no, it's like when you see the committee that that you used to have a phone on the wall with a long line, and that was the
You were
only
limited to like 20 feet. Now that was if you had the long cord.
right. You had the long cord.
So most of them had the short cord. So
Right.
you could go 5 feet around the corner, but if you're talking to your girlfriend, that's mom and dad are on the other side of that wall. If you were fortunate, you remember the other one that was long, it could go 20 feet, but it dangled like
Mhm.
8 feet down on a
And it was like a grappling hook. It could
it
catch
was.
stuff.
Could catch anything. You could trip people.
Whoa, that bowl of cereal. Oh, God.
David probably did trip his sisters with the phone. Yeah, it was an interesting thing. So I was thinking, yeah, when Marlena threw a phone at me back in 1984, it was connected. I think it sprang back and hit her in the head, almost like a bungee.
I can say if she was throwing it at you, you deserved it. I'm pretty sure.
It was at the Gleason house,
Right.
and it was a landline. I'm just thinking about you're throwing a phone when those because for you younger listeners, readers, viewers. Last week we had a viewer problem with Roger, but if you throw that, it's going to spring back. I just thought about that. I'd be like, can't get me.
No, the one comedian who talks about, boy, those days we had those phones, if you were ticked with somebody, you could show them because you could just slam it down on the slam that phone down on the
And they knew on the cradle.
and they right on the cradle.
They knew you were upset.
Can't do that with a cell phone.
No, you'll destroy the cell phone. The other thing is if you just hit end call, they just think you lost signal. Oh, bless them. They don't know you hung up on them. There was something satisfying about the
That's what he
slam
said.
it
He was
down.
saying that was very satisfying to
Slam it down.
slam it down
I just
and
told
let
you.
them know I told you, right?
No, yes, I still remember. Like I remember it was a big deal when we finally got push button dialers. Because again, for our younger listeners, we used to have a rotary dialing system. Now I don't know who came up with that.
Mhm.
It's the darndest thing. But there was like 10 numbers on a circle, and you would have to start on 3, 9. And I remember the last time I can remember actually doing it was when I was at the emergency room because I'd cut the side of my finger off over here, and I had to call Henry at QuickPrint. They could have dialed it for me. I thought that would have been super helpful. I'm at the emergency room, I'm bleeding out, and they're like, you have to call work. And so I'm like, can you at least hold the thing? Because it would move. Can you at least hold the cradle so I can do the dialing? Why, no one in the emergency room thought, hey, why don't we dial that for you? In fact, why don't we make the call? What's his name? Henry. We're on
Exactly.
it.
I mean, it's only a digit that's at stake here.
Yeah, well, I just thought they were going to sew it up. They're like, no, we need the rest of your finger. I'm like,
Or you'll have a nub like your granddad.
right. I'm like, how about that? Okay. Oh, wait, I just finished reading Dad's the first installment of his memoirs that he left for the children. Do you have the second volume? Because I can't find
I
mine.
don't know if you ever put a second volume out.
Well, that's disappointing. Because he said,
I don't remember
I'll
him.
cover this in the second volume.
Right.
Are you telling me that Dad didn't?
I'm not sure he did, but don't trust. My memory's not the thing to trust.
Well, now I'm very sad because that was fascinating. Dad lived in California, Texas, Nebraska, New York City, Chicago, and that's only a few. That was like in the
Yeah, there was
first
some interesting. Yes.
Kentucky, and I found out his first pastor was not in Paducah, Kentucky. It was like when he was 18 years old. There was a church plant in Asher, no, Byers, Oklahoma, one of the other states of the 50 that he lived in,
Yeah.
and he pastored there for a year at 18.
Yep.
I'm like, what? I just can't. The world back then, the world now, when you think particularly about the megachurch movement and all that, like these people had planted the church and it was just people. There was no pastor or leader. It was just people that got together, let's form a church, which seems kind of groovy to me when I think about it.
Groovy.
And then they're like, hey, do you preach?
Right.
Matter of fact, I do. Well, great. We need a preacher. Can you start today?
No, there was like they said, we see you have a Bible.
Yeah,
You
that was
preach?
it. That was it. We see you have a Bible. I
You
just
happen to preach? Well, I do. Can you?
that seems like the kind of thing that would happen to our brother David. And it just seems that because I feel like David is most like dad of the three of us, and like I could just see David with a Bible, the group of people
But you've done some
going to church.
fascinating inner asks from people. Would you come do this?
Oh yeah, I get
Right. Anyway, it's yes, that's a you're following Dad's line. It's Bruce.
well as soon as I do
When
that,
you do this, it takes me out.
hold it, wait. All I have to do to take Roger out is put my hand on my head and you disappear.
Well, I can take your voice out.
Well, it's true. Probably should have checked the old. I hope that's on. Yeah, it is. That's good. All right, so we're good there. So we chose this. Actually, we didn't choose the song. I chose the song this week.
You did.
For
I
us
like
to
it.
work from. Roger liked it. I didn't know what he was going to think. It's Steve Winwood, and there's a lot of
Back in
songs.
the life again.
It was not "Roll Baby," which was another song that I always liked.
Or Valerie, which I like.
Valerie, which I didn't know I liked until I listened to it. It was not April Wines, could have been a lady, which I heard this morning for the first time in 40 years, thanks to Roger. It's a great little. Anyway, but I chose the song because there's something about that song that has always appealed to me. It's the story of a person, and then I'll let you tell us about Steve Winwood because I know you're the artist trivia guy. But it's the story of a person that was on the outside, like he was on the inside for a while, but he did something, messed something up, screwed up some way. Then he got put on the outside, and everyone's looking at him funny, and you don't know if he went to prison or if he lost the job or got fired. And but then he's talking about this time it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I'll be back in the high life. Watch for me. And we'll drink and dance with one hand free and have the world so easily. You know, I'll be a sight to see. Back in the high life again. Anyway, there's some places I'm going to go with that. But tell us about Steve Winwood, because I know you did research on him.
Well, no, so musicians, that fascinates me. So looking up Wikipedia or I didn't realize. Well, it's funny. A year and a half ago, I got this enormous music. I bought this enormous
The
music collection.
Yeah.
And this guy had the most eclectic
Did you
group
have
of.
Winwood?
Well, and Winwood was part of two or three different groups. So Traffic was a group he was a part of. I got all kinds of CDs from Traffic. A short-lived group called Blind Faith, very fascinating, with Eric Clapton. He was very good friends with Eric Clapton.
Eric Clapton.
Yeah, so this connection. So he was in multiple groups. He was in another Clapton group. He was in Blind Faith with Clapton.
Was he ever in Mother's Milk? Actually,
He was
in
not.
Boston before
Right.
they were Boston. Go figure.
So this interplay of all these artists, and then I said, like Rolling Stone in 2008 ranked him as the 33rd best musical artist.
not just male vocalists, but musical artists.
Yes,
That's a big deal.
it's it's ridiculous. But you look at the
I
number
could
of
see him being in
top
the top
hits,
100,
right?
but 33.
Right. They had him, but album sales and number one hits.
And because I only remember him for a short season.
Well, what's in it?
Almost like Richard Marx. Like
Right.
Richard Marx had this like window,
Right.
very popular, and then it exited the planet.
But I think part of what reflects that is like solo artists. We know I'm a solo artist. Before I had this music collection, I did Traffic, Blind Faith, these other groups.
Yeah.
And this would have been with many of these solo, of course, like the Don Henleys and
Right.
the groups they were a part of, often multiple groups or multiple
Bands. Yeah.
There's one who, oh, I'm not going to think of his name now. He's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with three groups, two groups and as a soloist, one of the very first. It's not Winwood. Anyway, I've got to think through.
It's wild.
It might be Clapton. Anyway, but anyway, so the interplay of all these artists and groupies very.
Do you remember? Did it say how many number ones he had?
It did, and I did not. I don't recall the.
Okay.
But what may be particularly fascinating is even your point about back in the high life. Sometimes this is the life of the musician, the artist, where you go cold for a while. But then I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back. Okay, I've got a couple albums that didn't do a whole lot.
His own story. I never even thought about that.
There's this, because when he's saying that this was like the pinnacle. Back in the high life, what is fascinating is because that did represent probably his high point musically.
High point of
that
his
album,
career. Yeah.
At least as a solo artist.
Well, and there are certain things about there's a lot of things, imagery that I think about when I hear that song, but he says, all the eyes that watched us once will smile and take us in. So it's this idea that people were looking at him like leering, or it reminded me of David when he said, he cries out to God and he said, I've become a portent to many.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, I feel the weight of other people's judgment
Yep.
on me like all the time. And it's like I'm a pariah
Right.
in the community. He said, but I'm still looking to you. I trust you to, work all this out and vindicate. And so that song came to mind. But he also talked about all the doors that closed one time will open up again. Now that does sound more like the musical journey. Like the studio doors closing, the record album, the album
Yep.
producers closing. No,
we don't. You're right. In other words, right.
You're going to connect with your music right now. We're really looking for more radio hits.
You're done.
Yeah.
Which ironically always makes me think of the song.
Don't call us child. We'll
Yes,
call you.
exactly. That's.
The band performs in the news.
But
Don't call us child.
they're suddenly super interested once they. Whereas all the doors that were closed once, you didn't want to talk to us then.
Yes.
We don't want to talk to you now.
Yeah, we don't want to talk to you now. The door. But a lot of things I like about it, but one of them, it reminded me of a season of my life. This was like when I left Rocket City and all the hardship of that season.
Yeah, yeah.
The internal struggle, but I felt like a pariah. I have become a portent to many.
Okay.
But I was clinging to this reality, and that's when God brought the rest of the verse I was looking at this morning, 1 Peter 5:10, where Peter says this, and I don't think we spend enough time really like doing a deep dive into suffering and why suffering's important and why it's good for the soul.
Oh, we're going to suffering?
We're going to talk about suffering.
Oh, suffering.
But what it does, back to Winwood's song, Peter says, after you have suffered a little while, the God of heaven will restore you and make you firm and steadfast. And it's like you'll be back in the high life again. All the doors that closed one time will open up again. All the people that watched me once will smile and take me in. It was just, there's something about that. I don't know. It brought, even when I listen to that song now, there's a certain joy it brings to my heart, because you see them will drink and dance with one hand free. It's like everything's as it should be again. Back in the high life. So I realized when I look back on my journey, there's some times when I've had terrible lows, And I felt like a pariah in the community. Like I felt like the loser pastor in Huntsville,
Mm,
which is even part of my let's move to Denver, Colorado and plant a church. Because
okay.
I just felt like I want to get out of Huntsville. I'm just not, my reputation is forever tarnished.
Yeah. Yeah.
The doors are closing.
Right. Yeah.
People used to ask me to come and pray at their events.
Now
They
they're
do not
praying for
now. Now they're
me.
exactly now they're praying for me. Bless his heart.
Oh, yeah. Did you hear about Bruce? Oh, yeah.
But then we come back to, fast forward to like 2003 after the church planting disaster, Faye, in Denver, Colorado, that lasted about 6 months. We come back to Huntsville. We don't know what we're going to do, but beginning of 2003, I become a teaching pastor at the church at Hampton Cove.
Hmm.
And it was sort of the beginning of this journey back into, and the high life's the wrong term for it, but oh, God has restored. It's like everything like the locust ate during that season, he restored it like fourfold.
Yeah.
And has continued to do that in my life. And then, the crazy hard year, 2012, 2013, that whole thing woven together. But then how God's restored things since then. I just keep the faithfulness of God. And we don't even have time to go into all the reasons that suffering is important. Because another place in that letter, Peter talks about if it is God's will that you should suffer, then
Right.
it's like, okay, time out. Can we unpack that a little, Peter? Can you just talk
Right.
about
Right.
when it's God's will for suffering and when it's not? I would
Right.
love to know, what's going on there. But just the reality is that for me, the whole Winwood song. It's just a song about hope. It's about no matter
Yeah.
what I'm going through, the God who is faithful will make things right again. Even when I think about Revelation 21, I'm not even saying that you're going to experience the joy of restoration in this life, in this
Right.
age. We certainly want to,
Right.
but there's not a promise of that. But there is a promise beyond now. This is one day.
Right.
I'll wipe away every tear. Every door that's been closed is going to open up. All of the folks that watch you once will smile and take you in. To me, it's almost an analogy of the next realm, what Jesus called the next age, the new order, because the old order of
Yeah.
things has passed away. We'll be back to Eden. Now that was the high life.
Yeah.
And when I think about heaven, I don't think of an ethereal place in the sky. I think of new heaven and new earth. We're back on earth, but it's the Garden of Eden again. It's fully restored. It's the absence of evil. Question, will we even have the knowledge of good and evil anymore at that point? Because that seemed to be the turning point for human civilization.
No, but if I'm so there's that, but then there's also this image of open doors again, this that even here, before there, the the high life, if you would, that's still so the picture that came to my mind, even out of what is Peter, he's denied Jesus,
Mm.
and the doors are closed. I'm going back to fishing. I am,
And by the way, I'm the one that closed that door.
right.
I kind of slammed it shut.
I'm a pariah.
Yep.
The other disciples can't imagine what they think about me.
And no one gives much thought to that.
Right.
The judgment that he experienced from the other disciples.
Right.
You did what?
Or even if they don't, but they can't quite look him in the eye.
But the other thing is, and they're also feeling a little judgment because they didn't even follow him. They didn't even follow Jesus to the courtyard.
No.
Like they fled.
John
So
is the only
John,
one who's got a slight little
little edge.
He was the one at the crucifixion.
Yep.
He would. So of all of them, he was the most bold, but they all ran in the garden.
Right.
Everybody bolted. So again, and all of them had said, "Oh gosh, I'm with you.
I'll lay down.
I will lay down my life."
It wasn't just Peter, and I'm glad you
No.
pointed that out because again, most people don't remember that. It's around the table. They're all saying the same thing. Oh yeah, you
all
can
saying
me. Until you can't.
So then you have the breakfast by the fire. They can't catch the fish, and Jesus calls them in. And then you just have this beautiful conversation where Jesus opens the door again. Like, well, that door's closed. Like Peter, I'm not the rock.
I'm not the rock you thought I
I'm the
was.
grain of sand. I'm the guy who got pulverized. Um, who, no, no. So even the reality that this beautiful,
Mm,
wherever we've done, whatever we've done, wherever we've gone, there's the Father still, even if you think the prodigal son, he's back in the high life. We're not even
yeah,
talking about
right.
heaven. We're not even talking about the future yet. I'm not saying that that's not, but he's back. He gets a robe. He gets a room in the house. He gets his name. He's still a son.
Yeah.
He's all of these. He can't, and he is truly drinking, dancing, one hand free. And this is opportunity that he could
Back
never have
in
imagined.
Emily again. Yeah, I mean, it's that. In fact, I do a whole message called "Deja Vu" just on that time where where Jesus, we say, reinstates Peter, but Jesus intentionally does, because when I do this talk, I first tell the story of when Peter was first called, and I'm like, all right, everyone, just close your eyes, and I should imagine the scene. The salt smell is in the air, and you can hear the waves, and you can hear the creaking of the boat, and you hear the fishermen talking, and they're cleaning their nets, and they haven't got any fish that day, and the sun's just coming up, and they've fished all night, and Jesus says, "Throw your net over there," and Peter's like, "Yeah, we fished all night. We know what we're doing. We haven't caught anything." And then I think Jesus just keeps
You know.
looking at him and goes, "But if you say so."
All
So, all
righty,
righty, here we go, guys, throw the net
Mr.
in.
Fisherman.
All right, gee, the carpenter over there. So he throws it in. They get so many fish they can't even bring them in. They have to call everyone over, and they're just bring. And then, so Peter, after he's messed up,
Big
blown
time.
big
Yeah,
time,
he,
denied Jesus three
yeah.
times, cussing and swearing. I don't know the man. All of this. Never seen him in my life. I mean, it's really bad.
It is rock
I
bottom.
mean, it's rock
He's
bottom.
sobbing. I mean,
Right.
he's sobbing. Yeah.
He goes back to fishing, and the other guys who are also feeling a little of the judgment because they fled, were like the thing about
Yeah.
that, yeah, I think we're all done. I think there's a whole new thing that's going to have to happen here. And Jesus intentionally recreates. And I'll say, now close your eyes again. I'll say, I'll tell you the story. And I tell the story
I
of
love that.
those the
I
smell of
love
the
that.
salt
Yeah,
in the air
yeah.
and the wind blowing and the waves. And then Jesus says, have you caught any fish? And they're like, no. It's like, throw them over there and you're going to get, and they're like, it's the Lord. He recreated the moment
Yeah.
of Peter's calling
So
for
much so that Peter immediately,
new.
yes.
And it reminded me in that season of loss, and I'm out of ministry. Like I went back to printing, literally.
Yeah,
I'm like, I
I
went back to
remember.
printing.
Right.
It's like God was saying, hey, Bruce, my call is irrevocable. And I realized there's probably ways that passage is used that are like not great, but
Hmm.
for me, I'm like, it's true. He's called me and nothing has changed.
Right.
And all of my mistakes and all my sin and all my mess doesn't change the fact, no, this is still my call for your life. This is still my purpose that I'm going to affect through your life. Nothing's changed. And I'm
Uh,
like, gosh, that's just beautiful. Like if Peter the Rock can deny Jesus three times on probably the biggest night of Jesus's career, little
Nate.
Nate Bargatze, then he can welcome me back into the family too. And and has done so.
And he does.
And has allowed me to continue in ministry for gosh, what is it, 1995 to now, 30 something years.
So the idea that yeah,
31, 32.
our suffering, even the suffering we've created,
Yeah,
some suffering happens to us. We're persecuted. There's some, and then there's some suffering we brought on ourselves. We were idiots. We
wrote an entire book on it. We kept that blurred out so you could see the book.
because we're not trying to turn this into an
No,
ad.
no, we don't. No one talks about desperate for hope, and we don't want them to.
I mean, it's regardless of how the door was closed.
Yeah,
God wants to open it again. God wants to that. In other words, that's the hope. There's no one. In fact, when you look at the long history of all the people that God has used through all the pages of the Bible, like again, it is murderers and adulterers, and
Bet-
racists and
betrayers, deniers.
betrayers and um, right, just um, proud and some arrogant and
Sometimes violent.
right. So I mean, you have the Jonahs. What a bizarre like. At no point in the story does he ever really seem to have the heart of God. He
It
is
doesn't ever really seem to turn a corner.
no, and the end of the story, but God still used him. I mean, there's just these. That seems to be this whole.
I was just thinking, so I was trying to think, is there anyone in scripture we don't have some dirt on? I was thinking, well, Melchizedek. And then
We
there
know
was the
who
other,
he
and
is.
then the other guy who went to the new order a little early.
Enoch.
Enoch walked with God and was no more because God took him. I
Yeah,
just love that. That's
yeah,
always loved that. But most of the biblical characters, the heroes of the faith, were disasters.
yeah.
Just I even think like the fact that King David isn't just a byline
Oh,
somewhere in a store. I mean, he is the
it's
still considered the greatest king before Jesus. Okay. I mean, I'm like, and he was a train wreck
oh,
multiple
at every
times.
right,
Multiple
right.
times.
Yeah. No, there's just
Oh, you refuse to feed me and my men, we're going to kill you. I mean, he's just a violent
barely
man.
right.
And you what? We all love the story of David and Goliath. No one wants to hear the story of David and Nabal.
Or David and his sons, or
David and his
David
sons, right?
and his wives, and his
Seven and counting. But and his son took it to a whole new level.
there
Mister,
was
let's have 1,000 wives. Technically 300 wives. I'm sorry, I don't want to like, and then 700 mistresses. So I just, I don't even know how we got on that, but there's just so
we
much
could get off.
we should. There is just so much there, so much there. Anyway,
But yeah, but the idea that you're going to get from the pages of the Bible, God uses squeaky clean people, or when they screw up, they're done.
they're done.
It's
You're just not gonna, yeah.
that if you're holding on to that one,
Roger,
yeah.
am I remembering correctly? Manasseh, like arguably the worst king in the history of Israel, and God gives him another shot at the title at the end of his life because there's repentance. I mean, it's like, and he was a disaster.
And even after the repentance,
Continuing
he
on a
wasn't
bit of a disastrous path.
right.
Yeah, but think about what tells you about God and the graciousness of God, and who is
Loves mercy.
loves mercy, long suffering.
Yeah. And what we've
Yeah,
laughed about, he's only ever used screw ups because that's all he's got. In other words, this idea that we're supposed to get to a particular level before God will open a door. No, he's always only ever using people that some things about them fall short, maybe way short
oh,
of the
and
goodness of God.
Roger, one thing I'm regularly shocked by, how often Christians are shocked by leaders that sin or that came to find out that they had sinned years ago. We're just finding out about
Right,
it now, and they're just like shocked. And I'm like, really? You find that shocking?
right.
Because that's the whole
It's the
biblical
whole
story,
Bible.
right? It's the whole Bible. So
Right. Fine.
where did we? Maybe it's a Western thing, Roger. We've created that the heroes of the well, be, Old Testament we didn't have Jesus. So, but now maybe now we're like comparing everyone to Jesus, and every Christian leader should be like Jesus, and that's true, but not in this lifetime.
No.
Like you're not going to get anyone that's infallible now. Jesus was the only one that was humanly infallible.
And this it's one of the things I love about the Bible that's so hopeful is this
The honesty.
honesty about the screw ups that all the followers of God are. And I'll even say, I think it's a word even for this day where everyone in the church is looking at the other branch of the church and saying, what the, how could someone who loves Jesus be that far
Yep.
off. I have the check in my spirit. Do I think those thoughts? I do. But it's like God repeatedly comes back, wait, that's what the church has always looked like. And sometimes it feels like it's not excusing that. I can still look and say that falls short of the glory of God. But once we say, oh, you can't really be a Christian and be wrong on that. You can't really be a Christian and have cheated on your wife. You can't really be a Christian
And I voted that
and
way.
voted that way. You cannot really be a Christian and be a part of that denomination or that group. Or, well, now you're just going against the entire weight of the scripture.
Well, and it's the importance of, and it's the chapter I'm writing right now, but just the importance of acceptance. And I realize because I'm delving into,
Delving.
dare I say, delving into
Dare away.
Romans 14, where he talks about disputable matters, and he says, accept those that have a different view without passing judgment
Right.
on disputable matters. And I was like, what gets us in the most trouble now in Christendom is what are the disputable matters? We're in disputes on what's disputable.
Of course.
And so they're like, that's indisputable. I'm like, no, that's very disputable. I'm like, I'm back to, Jesus is really the only thing indisputable in my mind. But there's so many, like even what's going on in the SBC right now. I mean, like you've got a lot of uh, pretty famous leaders going, I think wrong on this one, like for a while. And then you have others that are doubling down on
Women pastors.
women
Yeah,
pastors.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Yep.
because you might be listening to this 6 years from now. But yeah, they voted again that women can't be pastors and serve in that capacity.
Kind of doubling down.
Doubling
We've said
down.
this in the past, but we want to say it stronger.
Yeah, we're going to make it a big statement. But I thought about the difference between Jesus and John the Baptist. So John the Baptist is a teetotaler, never has alcohol, does not drink. Jesus comes drinking, turning water into wine, and the religious leaders judge both of them.
Mhm.
Like he's like demon possessed. He's wearing camel hair and doesn't eat the right things. And of course, Jesus, he was demon possessed as well. He's a drunkard and a glutton. He's just
And look at the people
worldly.
he hangs out
Look
with.
at the
Right.
he hangs out with. And Jesus said, you guys, no one can make you happy. But the reason I love that story is because I want to talk about this. The Holy Spirit will lead one person a completely different way that he leads another person. One person
Mhm.
might have a very strong conviction about, I'm not going to have anything to drink.
Mhm.
That was our dad.
Mhm.
Well, so much for mom, as it turns out. But dad, and then you had other
Mom
people.
would nip a little on the side.
And then you got like
And
Bruce.
because Dad couldn't see what was in the refrigerator.
Dad, I have no idea. Yeah, what's that square looking thing in the back? It's a salt block in case we get cattle. That's the point. No, but it's just the beauty of because and here's the other thing I've been thinking about. I'm going to share it tonight in our small group thing. But the reality is, we all want everyone to hear from God the same way. We all want it to be 100% consistent with certainty. This is always the right thing to do. This is always the wrong thing to do. And we can easily evaluate not only our life, but other people's lives. But if you looked at Jesus and you looked at John the Baptist, you'd be like, well, who was right? Both of them. Jesus' wisdom is proved right by all of her actions or by all of her children, depending on how you interpret it. But the reality is, and what I realized is the genius of God and the Holy Spirit leading us differently. And the fact that we have so many denominations and different theological systems and all that, but can still be followers of Jesus, it forces us to love. In other words, it's easy. It challenges. Yeah, okay, you're right. It challenges. It doesn't force us, but it's easy to love people that think exactly like you do.
Yep.
Marlene and I would get along so much better if we just thought the same about everything, or at least that's that's the way I think about it. If I just thought just about everything like Marlena did, or Marlena thought, but it challenges us to love each other and say, that's different. I wouldn't do it that way. Most things I do, she's like, I definitely wouldn't do it that way. It's even like she was asking things about the shop, and she was like, no, I'm not a shop builder, so I'm just throwing this out there. But I realize it gives us an opportunity to love others because to accept them and love it because they're different and they're led differently by the same spirit. So we have gone all over the place.
We have.
Give us a dingy
Ball.
go home on, Raj.
Um, the high life. No, no, no.
You'll only be a low lifer for so long. and then you'll be in the high life again.
You can never out sin grace.
That's a good idea. I mean, the way you said it wasn't great, but
No,
the
right,
concept was
right.
good. You can't, we all heard you can't outgive God. Well, you can't out sin God either.
God doesn't close the door
God,
regardless of what you've done before.
no.
He is a beautiful person.
Okay. That was that was so bad. It was good though, Roger. I appreciate that you at least gave it a whirl. I clearly didn't.